What if the door you keep asking God to open would overwhelm the person you are today? Think carefully. More money without restraint does not create prosperity. It finances disorder. More influence without character does not create leadership. It multiplies damage. More responsibility without systems does not create significance. It produces confusion. And more visibility without a secure identity does not make you powerful. It makes your insecurity public. My friends, we have been taught to celebrate opportunity, but we have not always been taught to calculate its weight. Opportunity brings options, pressure, expectations, temptation, and scrutiny. It may change your environment, but it does not automatically change your habits. A promotion cannot teach you punctuality. A larger income cannot force you to budget. A platform cannot give you integrity. A title cannot govern your emotions. This is very important. Write it down. Expansion does not create maturity. It reveals the maturity already present. What did I say? Expansion does not create maturity. It reveals maturity. A larger container exposes every crack that a smaller load allowed you to ignore. That is why receiving more is not merely a reward. It is an assignment. And every assignment carries a demand upon the person trusted to carry it. Now, do not misunderstand me. A closed door is not automatic proof that God has rejected you. Delay is not always punishment. Sometimes circumstances are simply complex. And sometimes the timing is not yet clear. But here is the question you can answer. Are you converting this waiting season into preparation, or are you merely complaining that nobody has discovered you? During this journey, we are going to define self-government. We will examine how you treat small responsibilities, what your private habits reveal, and why applause can become dangerous to an unprepared identity. Then we will build 4 dimensions of readiness: character, competence, systems, and humility. Finally, you will conduct a capacity audit, not of what you desire, but of what you can presently sustain. So stop asking only, when will my opportunity come? Ask the more responsible question, who am I becoming while I wait? Before asking whether the next opportunity is coming, you must understand what an opportunity actually does when it enters a life. Opportunity is not merely an open door. Opportunity is increased access joined to increased responsibility. Write that down. Increased access, increased responsibility. If you receive access without accepting responsibility, the very opportunity you celebrate will become the environment of your exposure. Think of an amplifier. An amplifier does not repair the sound entering it. It makes that sound louder. If the signal is clear, clarity becomes powerful. If the signal is distorted, the distortion fills the room. Opportunity works the same way. It does not cure your habits. It gives your habits a larger microphone. Now watch. 2 people remain in the same place for several years. The first says, nobody will give me a chance. Every door is closed. People are holding me back. Perhaps some doors truly are closed. But the second person asks another question. If the door opened today, could my present structure support what is on the other side? One person examines the environment. The other also examines himself. That second examination is uncomfortable, but it is the beginning of growth. See, an unmanaged weakness becomes repeated behavior. Repeated behavior becomes a pattern. Increased resources give that pattern more room to operate. Then larger consequences reveal what smaller circumstances allowed you to hide. Negligence with $10 becomes dangerous with 10,000. Poor communication with one person becomes destructive when you lead 50. Insecurity in private becomes instability when thousands begin watching. Consider the son who demanded his inheritance before he possessed the wisdom to manage it. The money was not evil. The timing exposed him. He received possession without preparation, access without restraint, resources without government. Abundance entered his hands, but maturity had not entered his character. So what should have strengthened his future financed his decline. My friends, money enlarges your spending choices. Leadership enlarges the effects of your judgment. Marriage enlarges your responsibility for another heart. Visibility enlarges the consequences of your need for approval. More never remains neutral. More gives power to whatever is already governing you. And do not confuse gifting with government. You can be talented and still be unreliable. You can be charismatic and still be careless. You can attract attention and still lack the discipline to organize work, preserve trust, control desire, or finish what you begin. Talent may introduce you to the room, but character determines whether your presence remains valuable there. So, here is my question, and do not answer it quickly. If tomorrow delivered exactly what you have requested, which weakness in you would immediately become more expensive? That question may reveal that your greatest obstacle is not simply an absent opportunity. It may be a present pattern waiting to be amplified. And if expansion amplifies whatever is already present, then the decisive preparation is learning to govern the person who will walk through the door. The first person you were assigned to lead is yourself. Before you govern money, people, influence, or an organization, you must learn to govern your own spirit. That is self-government. Write this definition down. Self-government is the ability to direct your appetites, emotions, time, speech, attention, and behavior toward purpose, even when your feelings resist. It is not doing what feels good. It is making your feelings answer to what is good. Now, self-government is not suppression. Suppression pretends I am not angry, I am not tempted, I am not afraid. That is dishonesty, wearing a spiritual suit. Self-government says, I feel anger, but anger will not choose my words. I feel fear, but fear will not choose my direction. I feel desire, but desire will not become my master. You acknowledge the impulse without surrendering authority to it. Scripture compares a person without rule over his own spirit to a city whose walls have collapsed. Why? Because walls regulate access. Without walls, everything enters. Every appetite walks in. Every criticism invades. Every distraction interrupts. Every mood sits on the throne and starts issuing instructions. That is not freedom. That is internal anarchy. There are 6 territories you must govern. First, appetite governs what you consume. Second, emotion governs how you react. Third, time governs what receives priority. Fourth, speech governs what you release into the lives of others. Fifth, attention governs what grows larger in your mind. And sixth, behavior governs what eventually becomes your character. Now watch the sequence. Purpose identifies your destination. Values establish the boundaries. Discipline turns those values into conduct. Repeated conduct creates trustworthiness. You do not become trustworthy because you made one impressive promise. You become trustworthy because your behavior keeps agreeing with your values. So let us make this practical. What happens when you feel stressed and begin spending money for emotional relief? Who is governing whom? What happens when anger enters the room and your mouth releases words your character must apologize for tomorrow? What happens when you promise to arrive at 9 but consistently appear at 9:15? What happens when the supervisor leaves and your standard immediately falls? What happens when compromise becomes attractive because nobody will know? That is where self-government is measured not in your announcement, but in your response. Prayer matters. Spiritual conviction matters. Prayer can clarify direction, strengthen courage, and expose what must change. But after you pray, you must still prepare the budget. You must still arrive on time. You must still study. You must still refuse the compromise. You must still complete the assignment. Faith does not make discipline unnecessary. It gives discipline a worthy direction. My friends, take a moment and write one word. Which territory is presently governing you instead of being governed by you? Appetite, emotion, time, speech, attention, or behavior? Do not write all 6 because you are trying to look humble. Identify the one most likely to sabotage the future you keep requesting. Then remember this. If you cannot govern your impulses will eventually govern your opportunities. And self-government is not proven by what you intend to do on a large stage. It is revealed by what you repeatedly do with a small assignment. A small assignment is not an insult. It is an examination. It is a diagnostic instrument. Like an X-ray, it reveals what enthusiasm can conceal. Punctuality, care, honesty, patience, teachability, and consistency. And it reveals these qualities while the consequences are still small enough for correction. Why do people despise small work? Because small work rarely applauds you. It does not match the photograph you have imagined of your future. You see yourself addressing thousands, but today somebody has asked you to arrange 20 chairs. Suddenly your destiny feels offended. No, my friend, your destiny is being tested. Consider 2 workers with equal potential. The first says, "This task is beneath me." So he arrives late, does the minimum, ignores details, and waits for a position worthy of his talent. The second says, "This task is preparing me." She arrives ready, learns the process, solves problems, and improves what was placed in her care. After one day, the difference looks small. After 1 year, it becomes skill. After 3 years, it becomes reputation. One person has accumulated excuses, the other has accumulated trust. Same potential, different government. David's public victory did not begin before an audience. It was preceded by responsibility in a field where few people were watching. Protecting sheep looked unrelated to confronting a national threat, but the private assignment developed courage, judgment, and practiced skill. The public moment did not create readiness. It examined what private responsibility had already produced. Joseph demonstrates the same principle through changing environments. His location changed, his authority changed, and his difficulties changed. But certain qualities traveled with him: integrity, management, usefulness, and the ability to offer solutions. That is why your environment cannot be your permanent excuse. If excellence disappears whenever the surroundings disappoint you, it was never excellence. It was convenience. Now watch what small assignments expose. First, carelessness with details. Second, insecurity that needs recognition before it will serve. Third, inconsistency when the excitement disappears. Fourth, resentment toward work that does not look important. These patterns seem inexpensive in a small assignment, but expansion adds weight to them. And yes, a person can genuinely be overlooked. Do not turn this teaching into an excuse for unfair treatment. People can fail to recognize value. Doors can remain closed for the wrong reasons. But being overlooked does not give you permission to become unprepared. Bitterness cannot be allowed to corrupt the very stewardship that may prepare you for another door. So examine yourself. Do you finish without being chased? Do you improve what has been entrusted to you? Do you remain honest when compromise would be easy and invisible? Do you produce value before demanding a title? Write this down. Greater responsibility does not replace small habits. It places heavier weight upon them. The next level will not rescue you from how you handle today. It will require more of the same qualities, under greater pressure, with greater consequences. Treat the present assignment as evidence. Let it show where you are ready and where you still require growth. But remember, performing well once is not yet character. Readiness is established by what survives repetition after emotion and recognition disappear. One excellent performance can impress people. Repeated excellence reveals character. That is the difference between intensity and consistency. Intensity is a burst. Consistency is a system. Intensity says, "I feel inspired today, so I will give everything." Consistency says, "Whether I feel inspired or not, this responsibility will still receive my standard." Intensity may begin the journey, but consistency carries it beyond emotion. Think about a seed. You do not place it in the ground this morning and threaten it in the evening because no fruit appeared. Much of its first development is hidden. The root forms before the harvest can be measured. If you keep digging it up to check whether it is growing, you interrupt the very process you are trying to confirm. Many people do that with their own development. They practice for a week, pray for 3 mornings, follow a budget for 1 month, and then demand visible transformation. When the result is not immediate, they abandon the routine. They did not fail because growth was impossible. They failed because they mistook invisible progress for no progress. Now watch what repetition does. Repeated preparation makes you prepared. Repeated practice makes you skillful. Repeated study makes you informed. Repeated budgeting makes you trustworthy with resources. Repeated completion makes you dependable. Conduct does not merely produce results. Over time, it produces identity. Write down this chain. Repeated action produces skill. Skill produces confidence grounded in experience. Grounded confidence improves performance under pressure. Reliable performance earns trust. Trust is not built by promising that you can perform. Trust is built when your pattern makes the promise believable. This is why talent alone is never enough. Talent can give you an early advantage, but it cannot guarantee maturity. A highly gifted person who practices only when excited can be overtaken by a moderately gifted person who improves every day. Talent may open a door. Discipline determines what happens after you enter. Private habits are therefore more predictive than public enthusiasm. Public enthusiasm receives energy from applause, urgency, and a new beginning. Private routine receives none of those things. It asks whether you will continue when the room is quiet, the progress is slow, and nobody is impressed. The same principle governs spiritual strength. Regular prayer, reflection, and engagement with guiding truth are not performances designed to create an image. They align judgment before confusion arrives. They prepare the inner person before pressure begins asking questions. So choose one governing practice. Attach it to a fixed time or a dependable trigger. Make the minimum action small enough to repeat but meaningful enough to matter. Track whether you completed it. When you fail, examine the cause, correct the structure, and return to the standard. Do not turn one missed day into permission for a wasted month. My question is simple. What do you repeatedly do when nobody rewards you? Your answer describes the person your next opportunity will meet. Sustainable capacity cannot be manufactured on the day of promotion. It is accumulated privately, one governed decision at a time. But private consistency only prepares you to enter opportunity. Visibility introduces a new category of pressure that your discipline must be mature enough to withstand. Obscurity tests whether you can work without applause. Visibility tests whether you can keep working correctly after applause arrives. Those are different examinations. Visibility is not simply being seen. Visibility is exposure to multiplied opinion, multiplied access, multiplied temptation, and multiplied expectation. Suddenly more people praise you, more people criticize you, more doors become available, and more people expect something from you. Every increase places pressure on identity. Now watch applause. Applause feels like appreciation, but it can quietly become authority. If approval tells you who you are, then the audience becomes your government. You will adjust your convictions to preserve their attention. You will say what receives a response, avoid what produces resistance, and slowly exchange purpose for popularity. Write this down. When applause becomes your identity, truth becomes negotiable. Criticism applies pressure from the opposite direction. An insecure person may spend hours explaining one decision to people who carry no responsibility for its consequences. They answer every accusation, correct every misunderstanding, and enter every argument. Meanwhile, the assignment waits unattended. They are busy winning conversations and losing time. There is a discipline called silence. But silence is not hiding from legitimate accountability. If you have harmed someone, broken trust, or failed in responsibility, silence is not strength. It may be avoidance. Mature silence means refusing to let needless conflict consume energy assigned to useful work. The same is true of boundaries. Boundaries are not contempt for people. They are gates that govern access. Without them, every message becomes urgent, every opinion becomes a meeting, and every critic receives a key to your attention. Purpose without boundaries becomes publicly available for interruption. Money and access create another pressure. They accelerate choice. When resources are limited, some desires remain restrained because they cannot be acted upon. But increased money, influence, and proximity make more actions possible. A desire you never governed can now travel farther, faster, and with greater consequences. More access does not make you corrupt, but it gives concealed corruption more opportunities to express itself. This is why character matters. Character keeps your public conduct and private values from separating. The danger is not only one dramatic scandal. The deeper danger is gradual division, one version of you for the audience, another for private appetite. A double life may survive for a season, but it cannot sustain trustworthy influence. So how do you respond to visibility? First, remain accountable to truth rather than applause. Second, preserve the routines that governed you before recognition arrived. Keep preparing, reflecting, praying, studying, and reviewing your conduct. Third, keep people close who can correct you without being hypnotized by your title. If everyone near you is impressed, nobody near you may be honest. Now answer this privately. Which is more powerful in you, the assignment itself or the need to be seen succeeding at it? Can you receive praise without becoming addicted to it? Can you receive criticism without being governed by it? Public success requires an identity strong enough to remain teachable, disciplined, and aligned under both celebration and attack. Surviving expansion therefore requires more than a strong feeling or a single virtue. Readiness must be built in several dimensions at once. Every sustainable assignment rests on 4 supports. Think of a table. It may have one beautiful leg, polished and impressive, but if the other 3 are weak, you cannot trust it with weight. In the same way, one strong quality cannot indefinitely compensate for 3 neglected capacities. Write these 4 words down: character, competence, systems, and humility. First, character. Character is being worthy of trust when concealment, pressure, and personal advantage make compromise possible. Reputation is what people believe about you. Character is what governs you before those people arrive. Reputation lives in the minds of observers. Character lives in your decisions. Do you keep a promise after keeping it becomes inconvenient? Can you manage money that belongs to someone else? Can you protect confidential information when sharing it would make you appear important? Can you refuse temptation when nobody is likely to discover it? Can you give another person proper credit? Can you admit a mistake before somebody forces you to confess it? Those are character tests. Ability may give you access, but character determines whether that access remains safe. A gifted person without character is not merely unfinished. That person can become dangerous because ability increases the reach of private compromise. Second, competence. Competence is the developed ability to solve the problem attached to the position. Sincerity is admirable, but sincerity does not qualify you to perform surgery, manage an organization, counsel a family, or lead a team. Good intentions cannot replace preparation. Joseph was not useful merely because he possessed insight. His insight was joined to judgment and a workable response. He could interpret a crisis and then describe how resources should be organized to meet it. That is competence. Not simply recognizing a problem, but developing the ability to produce an appropriate solution. Diligence, study, practice, correction, and excellence should make you increasingly useful. Stop asking only, who will recognize my gift? Ask, what problem does my gift solve? Recognition without usefulness is noise. Here is your competence question. What problem will the opportunity you desire require you to solve repeatedly? And what evidence shows that you can solve it now on a smaller scale? Not what do you hope to do? What can you demonstrate? Third, systems. A system is a repeatable structure that prevents responsibility from depending entirely on your memory, mood, or heroic effort. If everything works only when you are excited, awake, present, and personally rescuing it, you do not have a system. You have an emergency with your name on it. Schedules are systems for time. Budgets are systems for money. Communication rhythms are systems for clarity. Checklists are systems for preparation. Delegation is a system for shared responsibility. Review is a system for improvement. Why do systems become essential during expansion? Because growth creates volume. More clients produce more communication. More money produces more transactions. More people produce more relationships and decisions. More commitments produce more opportunities to forget. Without systems, increased opportunity creates confusion faster than one person can control it. Apply this test to your work. Can the essential responsibility be described, scheduled, measured, repeated, and improved? If it cannot, growth may increase disorder rather than impact. A bigger operation cannot be sustained by a larger collection of improvisations. Fourth, humility. Humility is continued teachability after success. It is not timidity. It does not deny your ability, hide your contribution, or pretend you know nothing. Humility simply refuses to believe that yesterday's competence has eliminated today's need for correction. This is very important. Every new level introduces new ignorance. You may have mastered the former scale and still be inexperienced at the next one. The method that organized 5 people may fail with 50. The habits that manage a small income may be inadequate for a larger one. Expansion changes the questions. Humility keeps you willing to learn the answers. Now see how these 4 protect one another. Character prevents skill from becoming exploitation. Competence prevents good intentions from producing avoidable failure. Systems prevent success from collapsing into chaos. Humility keeps character, competence, and systems open to correction and growth. Imagine you receive a leadership opportunity tomorrow. Character asks, can people trust you with power? Competence asks, can you solve the problems of the role? Systems ask, can the work continue consistently as demands increase? Humility asks, can anyone still correct you after the title changes? If one answer is no, do not respond with shame. Respond with preparation. Do not give yourself a flattering score. Simply name your weakest support. Is it character, competence, systems, or humility? Write one observable practice that will strengthen it during the next 30 days. If character is weak, establish accountability around the vulnerable area. If competence is weak, begin discipline training. If systems are weak, document and schedule the essential work. If humility is weak, invite correction from someone qualified to give it and resist the urge to defend yourself. Remember the sequence: trusted in character, prepared in skill, supported by systems, and protected by humility. That is readiness with structure. Capacity, however, is not built in isolation from place and purpose. Even a prepared person must discern where to serve, what to protect, and which opportunities not to pursue. Readiness is not only about what you can carry, it is also about where, when, and why you are carrying it. That is position. Position is the place, responsibility, relationships, and timing in which your present faithfulness serves a larger purpose. Positioning is not sitting still while calling passivity faith. It is active stewardship. You prepare, contribute, learn, solve, and remain attentive to direction while you are where you are. A season can appear unimpressive and still be essential. What looks like reduction may be training. What feels hidden may be strengthening judgment. Joseph's environments changed dramatically, but each setting gave him another opportunity to practice integrity, management, and usefulness. The surroundings did not define the standard. The assignment revealed it. Now watch. Access can place you in a room, but discipline preserves your usefulness there. Punctuality matters. Integrity matters. Financial restraint matters. Emotional control matters. Excellence matters. An open door is an event. Remaining trustworthy is a pattern. But not every larger door is the right door. Some opportunities are counterfeit. They offer visibility while demanding character. They promise advancement while consuming family responsibility. They increase income while destroying peace. They enlarge your platform while pulling you away from your central assignment. Write this down. Bigger is not always better. Alignment is better. That is why boundaries are necessary. Boundaries are gates governing access to your time, attention, speech, and emotional energy. A gate can open, but it does not remain open for everything. You may owe a responsible explanation to those genuinely affected by your decisions, but you do not owe endless defense to every spectator who dislikes them. If you spend your strength answering every opinion, you may have no strength left to complete the work. Position also demands productivity. It is not enough to occupy a role and announce that you were placed there. Are you adding value? Are you solving problems? Are you improving what has been entrusted to you? Are you producing fruit appropriate to the assignment? Position without productivity becomes wasted access. So ask yourself two uncomfortable questions. Am I resisting preparation because it lacks glamour? Or am I pursuing expansion because visibility would make me feel significant? Mature ambition does not chase the largest stage. It seeks the right assignment in the right season for the right purpose. And here is the rule that must govern every future decision. Never accept an opportunity that requires you to abandon the character needed to sustain it. Now, the teaching must move from principles to evidence. What exactly would the next level demand from you every day? And where is that demand already being practiced? Return now to the door you have been asking to open. Name it specifically. Is it greater income, leadership, influence, marriage, business growth, public visibility? Do not write success. That word is too vague. Name the expansion. Now divide a page into 3 columns. In the first column, write what this opportunity would demand from you every day, not what it would give you. List the decisions, pressure, skills, routines, temptations, service, and consequences attached to it. Stop admiring the benefits long enough to calculate the responsibility. In the second column, Identify which demands you are already practicing faithfully in your present assignment. Then mark those that exist only as intentions. Remember, intention is not evidence. If the next level requires financial discipline, where is your budget now? If it requires leadership, whom are you serving now? If it requires consistency, what are you completing now without supervision? In the third column, return to the four supports. Name one character risk you must confront, one competence you must develop, one system you must install, and one source of correction you must welcome. Make each answer observable. I will improve is not a plan. I will complete this course, document this process, review this budget weekly, and meet with this mentor can become a plan. Then make a self-government decision. Choose one appetite, emotional reaction, use of time, speech pattern, or private behavior that will no longer issue orders to your future. Finally, choose one present responsibility and perform it with measurable excellence for the next 30 days. Do it without announcing it. Do it without demanding recognition. Let consistency become the evidence. My friends, readiness does not mean perfection. You do not have to stop desiring growth. Desire can awaken vision, but desire must mature into disciplined preparation. Otherwise, you will continue asking for a future your habits are quietly refusing to support. So govern today's assignment. Strengthen your character. Develop your skill. Build your systems. Protect your teachability. Become trustworthy before the pressure increases. And write this final principle where you can see it. Stop measuring your future by what you are asking to receive. Measure it by what you are becoming capable of carrying.